The Galactic Council meeting room was large and full of voices. Leaders from many planets were talking, arguing, and laughing. In the middle of the noise, an old alien named Calrith from the coral species stood up slowly. He was thin, with gray scales and tired eyes. He raised one hand and said loudly, "The humans are moving too fast." The room grew quiet for a moment, but then the laughter returned, louder than before. One council member joked, "Humans? Those primitive apes?" Another said, "Let them play with their little ships." But Calrith didn't laugh. He looked around the room and said, "You all laugh now, but you will not laugh for long." He held up a small device, showing images of giant machines humans. "We're building. Look at this," he said. "They are making something in the shadows. They call it Project Final Flame." No one listened. No one cared. They had heard warnings about humans before. The council believed humans were too emotional, too small, and too young to be a problem. But Calrith had seen more. He had studied the ruins of ancient races. Some had vanished long ago, leaving only small signs behind. One thing connected them. They had all met humans far away, near the edge of human space. Captain Lavra Miles stood inside the command deck of her ship. The solar wind. She looked at the screen and saw strange signals coming from an old mining station on a moon of Eridani Prime. Her crew was small but sharp. She trusted them with her life. "Something's not right here," she said quietly. Her pilot, Max, nodded and started moving the ship closer. The moon below was silent, no signs of life. They landed near the old station and walked in with weapons ready. Inside, the walls were black with blast marks. There were no bodies, but clear signs of a fight. What shocked Lavra was not the damage, it was the tech. Alien tech, mixed with human tools, but something else was there too. A third kind of technology, strange and unfamiliar. Lavra picked up a broken control pad and tried to scan it. "This doesn't belong to us," she said. "And it's not Draxian either." The Draxians were known enemies of Earth, but this looked older, deeper, more advanced. Back on the solar wind, Lavra sent a full report to Earth Command. She warned them of unknown forces moving near human colonies, but the reply was simple: avoid conflict. Gather more data. She felt angry, not because they didn't believe her, but because she knew they were afraid. Earth had just signed peace deals with several species. No one wanted war. Still, Lavra couldn't ignore what she saw. Something was hiding in the dark, pushing enemies toward Earth. Meanwhile, far away in another system, Commander Jason Grant flew patrol in the ship's Silver Comet. He had just finished scanning an asteroid base when his sensors picked up something strange. Two ships, hidden behind a small moon, barely visible. He turned toward them slowly and tried to hail them. No answer. Suddenly, the ships moved fast, firing plasma beams toward him. Jason dodged quickly and returned fire. But his weapons were weak against theirs. He flew through a narrow canyon on the asteroid's surface, trying to escape. One enemy ship crashed into a rock, and the other chased him. Just before the second ship could fire again, Jason launched a mine behind him. It exploded, tearing the enemy ship apart. His ship was damaged but still flying. He gathered all the sensor data and turned back to Earth. "I need to speak to someone in command," he said through the comms. His voice was calm, but his heart was racing. Jason knew what he saw wasn't normal. Those ships had cloaking, advanced weapons, and strange hull designs. Something was coming. And it wasn't just the Draxians. Back on Earth, Admiral Nora Bennett reviewed both Laura's and Jason's reports. She sat alone in her office, looking at old files from decades ago. One report from a lost scout ship mentioned the same strange tech. Another from a dead research team warned of a pattern, old, forgotten warnings left by species that had vanished. Some of the messages were half-broken, some unclear. But one phrase kept repeating in different languages. Too late to stop them, and it always referred to humans. Nora stood up and looked out the window at the stars. She whispered to herself, "They were trying to warn us." Then she turned To her assistant, "Get me a meeting with the president. We need to prepare," she said. "They think we're weak, but they have no idea what we've been building." The galaxy still laughed at humans, but in hidden shipyards beyond. Neptune. Something was growing. Silent engines were being tested. New weapons were being loaded, and a shadow moved across the stars. It was too late to stop the humans, but no one had listened in time. Far away from Earth, deep inside the Oort cloud, something began to wake up, hidden in the cold darkness. Giant shipyards opened for the first time in 100 years. Engines started humming, lights turned on, and machines began to move. These were not normal shipyards. They were part of Project Final Flame, a secret human defense plan built in silence, far from any known space. Inside one of the massive stations, a cryo chamber opened slowly. Commander Ethan Grant opened his eyes, coughing as warm air filled his lungs. A soft voice greeted him. "Welcome back, Commander." It was Iris, the I assigned to the fleet. Ethan sat up and looked around, still dizzy. "How long was I out?" he asked. 312 years, Iris replied calmly. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to understand. What happened to Earth? Iris showed him a glowing display. It showed a timeline of events. Earth had been attacked by the Draxians and other alien empires. Billions had died, but some colonies had survived. To protect humanity's future, leaders activated Project Final Flame. They placed top officers in cryosleep and hid powerful warships in secret bases. The plan was simple. If humanity ever faced extinction, the fleet would wake and strike back. Now the time had come. Iris guided Ethan through the main control room of the flagship, the Nova Striker. Other commanders were also waking up. One by one, ships like the Nightfall, Crimson Saber, and Starburn were coming online. Ethan watched through the giant windows. As warships powered up and floated out of their docks, he could feel the weight of duty pressing on him again. "We don't know who attacked first," Iris said, "but we know they're planning to finish the job." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we won't give them the chance." Meanwhile, on the alien planet Dravaris, the Zarn Council met in secret. They had received reports that strange human signals were appearing again. One of the counselors, high-voiced Tenril, stood and laughed. "They are just old machines, leftovers from a dead race," he said. "They have no people, no leaders, no heart." The others agreed and planned to send a fleet to destroy the signals. They still believed humans were weak and finished, but not all were so sure. A young alien advisor named Vilin, quiet and curious, had been reading old records. He spoke nervously. "I think we should be careful." The elders looked at him with annoyance. Velen showed them a record written by an extinct species. It said, "They sleep beneath the dust, but when they rise they bring fire." It was clearly talking about humans. Still, the council ignored him. They believed in numbers, strength, and pride. Back in human space, Admiral Nora Bennett received a signal from Iris. She smiled, knowing what it meant. "It's time," she whispered. Earth's colonies began preparing quietly. New armor was loaded, soldiers were trained, and factories worked without pause. They didn't announce war. They didn't show anger. They just got ready. Meanwhile, Ethan and his crew finished checking their ships. He stood on the bridge of Nova Striker, watching a large monitor. "I want a message sent to all known systems," he said. Iris nodded, and soon a message was sent in every major galactic language. It was short and clear. "This sector is now under human reclamation." The message was cold, calm, and filled with purpose. The Zarn Council saw the message and laughed again. "This is nonsense," one elder said. "Dead men do not reclaim space." To show their power, they sent a fleet of 5 warships toward the signal location. They called it a small show of force. "We'll crush their machines and bring back their broken parts," Tenril said. But when the fleet arrived, they found only one ship, a sleek human warship named the Caliber, floating alone. The Zarn ships locked on and fired without warning. Lasers and plasma bolts filled the space around the Caliber. But something strange happened. All the shots missed. The human ship moved like it could see the future. Dodging every attack, then it responded, firing only 2 shots. Each one hit a Zarn ship, cutting it in half. The remaining ships tried to escape, but their engines shut down. Iris had hacked them. She left one ship barely working and sent a message back to the Zarn Council. It said, "Next time send more." The council was shocked. They had lost 3 ships in seconds. Still, they didn't believe it was a serious threat. They called it luck. They blamed their captains. But deep inside, fear had started to grow in a small observatory on a distant moon. Velen watched the battle footage in silence. He remembered the words from the old record. "They sleep beneath the dust." He whispered to himself, "And now they are awake." The destruction of the Zarn fleet shocked many across the galaxy. Some said it was a trick, others said it was a lie, but the video clips spread fast. And the truth was clear. One old human ship had destroyed 3 modern Zarn warships in seconds. At the Zarn Council chamber, high-voiced Tenril slammed his hand on the table. "Lies," he shouted. "They used old footage or stolen tech." But some of the younger members weren't so sure anymore. The name humans was now being spoken with caution, not laughter. Velen, the young alien advisor, stood at the edge of the room. He had been silent since the last meeting. Now he raised his hand and spoke. "We mocked the warnings, but they were true." He showed old records again, this time from 3 extinct civilizations. All 3 had written the same line: "Do not push the humans too far." Still, Tenril turned away, saying, "They are ghosts trying to act like warriors." Across space, Admiral Nora Bennett stood at the command table of Earth Defense Central. She looked over recent updates. New colony shields were being activated, and orbital guns were being tested. The factories on Mars were now building 2 ships per week. Saturn's shipyards had just finished the Steel Horizon, a battleship unlike any before. Nora met with President Elijah Ward, a calm and focused man. "We are not declaring war," he said. "But we will not run either," Nora nodded. "They attacked our people, destroyed our stations, and now they laugh," the president replied. "Then let them see what we built while they were laughing." On the Nova Striker, Commander Ethan Grant stood with his officers in the war room. A large hologram showed the Draxian front. They had begun gathering ships at the edge of the Yulin sector, close to human colonies. "They think we won't strike first," Ethan said, "but we will, and they won't see it coming." He turned to Iris, the ship's AI. "Deploy the Shadow Fleet," he ordered. Iris responded. "Shadow Fleet units Phantom Claw, Midnight Echo, and Obsidian Spear have been launched." These were black ships, covered in adaptive armor that bent light and sound. They moved without leaving a trail. Silent as shadows, in the Zarn capital, Tenril called for a massive show of force. He ordered a fleet of 20 ships to gather and move toward the Eridani border. He wanted to scare the humans into silence, but when the fleet arrived, they saw nothing but empty space. No enemy ships, no stations, only silence. Suddenly, 2 of their ships exploded. Torn apart from inside, the rest began to panic, trying to scan for threats. But the human Shadow Fleet had already vanished again. Only a message was left floating in the void, blinking in red. "You should have listened." Back on Earth, Colonel Daniel Rivers prepared his Special Forces team. They were training inside a large ship called the Skyhammer. Each soldier wore power armor with built-in jump packs and pulse shields. They had trained for years in secret, ready for one mission only: strike first and strike hard. Daniel stood in front of his team. "The galaxy thinks we're soft," he said. "They think we cry. We run, we hide." He paused, then smiled. "Let's show them what humans really do." The team cheered, and the ship took off toward the Draxian frontier. Meanwhile, Ambassador Dana Brooks, Earth's top diplomat, tried one last time to speak to the Alien Alliance. She stood inside the meeting hall of the Vari League, her voice steady. "Stop the attacks, end the lies. or we will protect ourselves in ways you've never seen." But the response from the Velari was cold. "You are a danger to peace," they said. Dana replied, "No, we are peace, until you take it away from us." That message, recorded and shared across many channels, touched hearts even among alien citizens. Some began to question their leaders. Others started protests, asking why they were dragging their people into a war with humans. Fear was spreading, not of human violence, but of human unity. At the same time, Jason Grant piloted the warship Iron Warden deep in dark space. It had been upgraded with new tech-fold space engines, reactive shielding, and a weapon called the Void Cannon. He moved quietly toward a secret Draxian base hidden on a small planet. Once he got close enough, Iris took control of the attack. The cannon fired once, and the entire enemy base vanished into black dust. Jason turned and whispered, "Let that be a warning." The humans were not shouting, not marching in anger. They were calm, focused, and precise. And that scared the aliens more than war cries ever could. On a small moon, Velen looked up at the stars. He felt a chill, not from the cold, but from the truth. "They are not what we thought," he said softly. "They are not finished. They are just beginning." The Draxian warfleet moved without warning. 25 battleships, 10 carriers, and hundreds of drones entered human space through the Eridani Rift. They didn't send a message, didn't answer hails. They just came in, full of pride and fire. The first colony to fall was Vega 9, a peaceful world with farms, schools, and families. The Draxians landed with force, destroying communication towers and targeting civilians. Children were taken, towns were burned, and everything was left in smoke and silence. The galaxy watched from afar, and most said nothing. They thought the humans would cry and surrender. They thought humanity would fall apart again, but they were wrong, very wrong. At Earth Defense Central, Admiral Nora Bennett watched the feed from Vega 9. Her hands were still, but her voice was cold. "They crossed the line," she said. President Elijah Ward stood beside her, his face pale. "They wanted war," he said. "So we give them one." He signed the order, and Nora nodded. "All fleets are green," she said. "Project Final." Flame is now fully active across the solar system. Hidden warships rose from asteroid bunkers and deep ice tunnels. Massive ships, dark and silent, began to glow as their cores lit up. The Steel Horizon, Nova Striker, Iron Warden, Crimson, Saber, and dozens more moved toward the edge of human space. On board the Nova Striker, Commander Ethan Grant stood tall. He looked at the stars, remembering the people lost at Vega 9. "This is not revenge," he told his crew. "This is justice." He gave the signal, and the fleet began to jump, not through normal space, but using new fold drives. They vanished like whispers and reappeared just outside the Draxian fleet's edge. The Draxians were not ready. They thought the humans would wait, beg, or retreat. Instead, the sky opened with fire. Human warships moved like shadows, fast and silent. Their weapons were quiet but deadly: plasma spears, rail cannons, gravity mines, and energy torpedoes. The Draxian fleet was confused, shouting orders that came too late. Their ships exploded one by one, ripped apart in perfect silence. Jason Grant piloted the Iron Warden straight into the center of the enemy lines. He locked targets and fired the Void Cannon. A dark beam sliced through 3 Draxian cruisers, turning them into dust. "I don't need to talk," he said. "They'll understand this." Colonel Daniel Rivers and his Special Forces team landed behind enemy lines on Vega 9. They moved through the smoke, freeing trapped civilians, taking out Draxian patrols with silent strikes. Daniel wore upgraded armor that made him move faster than the eye could follow. His team took the command center by surprise. Within minutes, they had control of the colony again. They raised the human flag, and the people cheered through tears. Back on Earth, Ambassador Dana Brooks gave a message to the galaxy. She stood in front of a star map, calm but strong. "You watched them attack us, and you said nothing," she said. You thought we would break, but we built in silence." She paused and looked at the camera. "We are not the ones who should be afraid." The speech was played across thousands of planets. Some aliens felt angry, but many felt something else: respect. They had never seen humans fight like this. Not with rage, but with control. Not with fear, but with purpose, on the battlefield. The Draxian fleet broke apart. Only a few ships escaped, running back toward their space. Ethan Grant let them go. "Let them carry the message home," he said. His voice was quiet, but it echoed across the bridge. "The humans are not weak." In the Zarn Council chamber, silence filled the room. Tenril sat in his chair, his claws shaking. He had pushed for this war. He had laughed at the warnings. Now his fleet was gone, and his allies were silent. Velen entered the room with a new report. He placed it on the table and said only one word: "Surrender." Tenril growled. "We don't surrender to monkeys." Velen looked at him calmly. "They are not monkeys," he said. "They are the storm, back on the Nova Striker." Ethan received a private message from Admiral Bennett. She said, "Good work, but this is not over." He nodded. "I know." He turned to his crew. "We protect our people," he said. "We show them what happens when you poke the sleeping lion." Ships began to return to patrol, guarding the edges of human space. But this time, they didn't hide. They flew in full view, proud and ready. In the stars above Vega 9, a new monument was placed. A statue of a human child holding a burned flag, standing tall beside a soldier in armor. Under it, words were written in 20 galactic languages. They were warned. After the battle for Vega 9, news of the humans' victory spread like wildfire across the stars. Some called it impossible, others called it luck. But most knew it was something different. The humans had changed, and now everyone was watching them closely. At the edge of human space, deep in the asteroid fields near Neptune, the Iron Warden was being repaired. Jason Grant stood with his engineers, checking the new armor plates. They used nanomatter, a living metal that could repair itself and learn from attacks. Jason touched the smooth surface, feeling it pulse beneath his hand. "It's not just a warship anymore," he said softly. "It's something more." Inside the command center, Iris, the ship's AI, showed Jason and his officers the latest data. Alien spies were watching, sending reports back to their homeworlds. Ships from 3 different species tried to sneak into human territory, but vanished without a trace. Human stealth ships like the Shadowclaw and Echo Blade moved unseen, guarding every border. Jason knew the galaxy was waiting to see what humans would do next. He turned to his crew and said, "We don't start wars, but we end them." Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Nora Bennett led a secret meeting with the president and top scientists. They discussed something called Project Phoenix, a new kind of engine powered by a singularity. It could move a ship anywhere in the galaxy in seconds, but the tech was risky and very hard to control. Dr. Maya Lewis, the lead scientist, explained, "If it works, we can defend any colony instantly, but if it fails, the whole ship could vanish forever." President Ward thought for a long time and finally said, "We take the risk. We have no choice now." The Nova Striker was chosen for the first test. Ethan Grant and his crew prepared for the jump. They said goodbye to their families by video, each one quiet but strong. Ethan told his daughter, "I'll come home, I promise." She smiled bravely. "I know you will, Dad." The ship's engines glowed blue, and in a flash of light, the Nova Striker vanished from Neptune's orbit. A few seconds later, it appeared at the far edge of the galaxy, near a planet called Lasara. Everyone on board cheered. The test worked. Now, no enemy could predict where the humans would appear next. Back in the Zarn Council chamber, Tenril tried to gather new allies. He called the leaders of the Volari and the Targans. He promised them victory, riches, and new worlds. But they looked at him with cold eyes. "We saw what happened at Vega 9, the Volari leader said. "We will not fight the humans." Tenril pounded his fist. You are all cowards, but deep down he was afraid too. He remembered Veline's words. They are the storm on the mining planet of Lysara. A group of Draxian soldiers captured a human science team. They sent a message to the galaxy, showing the frightened faces of the prisoners. We will show the humans their true place, the Draxian commander said. But before anyone could react, the Nova Striker dropped from hyperspace above the planet. Ethan Grant gave a single order. Rescue the hostages, no mistakes. His team landed quietly. Moving through the shadows, they freed the prisoners and captured the Draxian commander. No shots fired, no lives lost. It was over in minutes. The galaxy was shocked. How could humans move so fast? How could they strike without warning? Whispers spread. Maybe the old stories are true, some said. Maybe the humans really are unstoppable. Back on Earth, Ambassador Dana Brooks spoke to the United Council of Worlds. She stood on a round stage under bright lights. The alien leaders watched her with fear and respect. Dana said, "We asked for peace, you gave us war. But we are not here to destroy. We are here to survive." She looked around the hall, her voice calm. "We will not attack those who wish to live in peace, but if you threaten us, you will. See what happens." Her words were clear and strong, and no one laughed now. Jason Grant, back on the Iron Warden, got a message from an unknown sender. It was Velen, the young alien advisor. Velen said, "Some of us want peace. Some of us fear you, but I believe you can change the galaxy for the better." Jason replied, "We don't want to rule. We just want to live." They both understood each other, even without trust. A new kind of respect was growing, slow but real. The humans continued to build and learn. Children on Earth drew pictures of starships flying to distant worlds. On Mars, teachers told stories about the battle for Vega 9. On distant colonies, people planted new flags, hopeful and proud. For the first time, the galaxy realized the truth. The humans were not just survivors. They were builders, fighters, and dreamers. And it was too late to stop them. But this time, everyone was listening. The humans were changing everything now. No one in the galaxy could ignore them anymore. Where once there were quiet borders and empty skies, now there were human ships. They patrolled with patience and power, showing the world a new side of Earth. In the outer rings, the Zarn tried to regroup. Tenril, who once laughed, now spent his days planning escape routes. He ordered his scientists to build new weapons, but their hands shook with fear. One of his generals, Relka, said quietly, "We should ask for peace," Tenril snapped. "They are only human." But even Tenril could feel that something big was coming. On the Iron Warden, Jason Grant met with his officers in the war room. The screens showed enemy fleets moving closer to the neutral zone. Jason listened to Solaris. Enemy ships gathering near Dravaris, about to cross into our space. He nodded. "Prepare the fleet, we stop them here." His crew moved with purpose, every step calm and sure. No one needed to shout. They knew what was at stake in another part of space. The Nova Striker carried Admiral Nora Bennett and Commander Ethan Grant to a secret meeting. It was held on a neutral planet, Eveles, inside a glass dome under purple skies. Ambassador Dana Brooks stood by the window, watching alien leaders arrive. Some looked hopeful, some looked afraid, but none looked brave. Dana greeted the Velari and the Targans, sharing soft words of peace. But when the Zarn entered, the room went quiet. Dana began, "This galaxy has room for everyone, but there is no room for tyranny." The Zarn ambassador scowled. "You threaten US, yet speak of peace," Dana answered. "We did not attack first, but we will finish it if you force our hand." The message was clear. Some aliens nodded, others whispered to each other. A few even looked at the Zarn with open anger. The world was changing, and everyone could feel it. Back on the Iron Warden, Jason led the fleet toward the Dravaris system. Ships moved in perfect formation, guided by Iris and other Ayas. Stealth cruisers vanished into darkness, while battleships lit up the space with silent engines. The enemy fleet was waiting. Their guns pointed at the human border. Jason spoke on. Open comes, his voice steady. This is Commander Jason Grant of Earth. You are entering protected space. Turn back now. The Draxian admiral, proud and angry, answered. This is Draxian space now. Move or be destroyed. Jason didn't reply. He simply gave a small signal. The human fleet split apart, moving. Like water around rocks, within seconds, they surrounded the enemy ships. No escape, no chance. The battle started with a single shot. A Draxian gun fired, missing its mark. That was all the excuse the humans needed. Laser beams cut through the darkness. Gravity bombs exploded in silence. The Iron Warden fired its void cannon again, making 2 enemy cruisers disappear in a flash of nothing. Human soldiers boarded enemy ships, moving with speed and precision. They didn't kill for sport. They only disabled weapons, locked doors, and forced surrender. Soon the Draxian fleet was in pieces. Half of their ships were captured. The rest were drifting, powerless. Jason ordered medical teams to rescue the injured, even enemy soldiers. He spoke to his crew. We show them who we are, not just what we can do. His words gave everyone hope. Back on Aviles, news of the victory reached the peace talks. The Targan ambassador stood and said, "We want a treaty with Earth." The Valari followed, and even the silent Yanari nodded. But the Zarn refused. Clinging to old pride, Donna saw it in their eyes, fear mixed with shame. She said softly, "The future is here. You must choose, peace or ruin." Elsewhere, on the old mining planet Lysara, Ethan Grant led a small team to find lost human scientists. They moved through empty tunnels, hearing only the hum of machines. When they reached the lab, they found more than just survivors. They found alien scientists, 2 Draxians who wanted to help. One of them, a female named Syrah, said, "We are tired of war. We want to live." Ethan shook her hand. "So do we." It was a small moment, but it mattered back on Earth. President Ward watched as the first school on Mars taught alien children and human children together. They learned to read and build and dream side by side. Ward whispered, "This is how we win, not just by force, but by what we build after." Across the galaxy, the story was the same. Some aliens still hated, but more began to hope. Whispers spread in dark bars and quiet homes. "Maybe the humans are not monsters," they said. "Maybe they are the future." Jason Grant, looking at the stars from the Iron Warden, sent a message to all ships. "We protect, we do not rule. But if you attack us, you will see what we can do." His words echoed across space. The warning was clear now, but for some, it was still too late to listen. The galaxy was changing fast. Everywhere, old leaders met in secret, whispering about the rise of the humans. For centuries, most aliens had looked down on Earth, calling humans weak, emotional, or foolish. Now, fear and respect mixed in every conversation. Some still thought they could stop the humans. Most had finally accepted the truth. On the edge of Zarn space, Tenril stood alone in his palace. The grand halls were empty, and the screens showed only bad news. Another allied fleet had surrendered. More colonies signed peace with Earth. Tenril's hands shook as he watched the human ships move like silent hunters in the dark. He remembered his old words and felt shame. But pride is a hard thing to kill. The Zarn military gathered what was left of its fleet. Tenril gave one last order. "Attack their supply lines. Show them we can still hurt them." But the plan failed. Before it began, human spies had already warned Admiral Nora Bennett. The Iron Warden and its escorts appeared in the dark, ready before the Zarn even arrived. The enemy ships found their engines frozen, their weapons locked. Iris had hacked their systems with new code that could slip through any defense. It was over before it started. Jason Grant spoke on Open Comes. "This is mercy, not weakness. Surrender now and live." Most Zarn officers gave up, their crews too tired and scared to fight. Some tried to flee, but human drones followed them, disabling ships without firing a single shot. For the first time, Zarn soldiers stepped out of their ships with their hands raised. They expected anger or punishment. But instead, they were treated with respect. Medical teams cared for the wounded, and food was shared with prisoners. Jason believed that showing kindness now would help prevent more hate in the future. On Earth, President Ward addressed the United Council of Worlds. He spoke from a simple room, not a golden hall. His words were plain but full of power. We did not ask for this fight, but we finished it. You thought we would break, but we stood together. We are not conquerors, but we are not victims. Let this be the last war. Let us build something better. His speech was shared everywhere for the first time. Leaders from dozens of worlds asked for peace instead of revenge. On Mars, children from many species painted a mural together. It showed humans and aliens side by side, under one sun. A small Zarn girl painted a blue flower, while a human boy helped her mix the colors. Their laughter filled the air. It was a small sign, but it meant everything to those who saw it. But not all hearts changed. Tenril refused to surrender, hiding in his fortress. He tried to call old allies, but none answered. He sent messages full of threats, but most were ignored. One night, Velen came to his door. Velen was not afraid, he said. The old ways are finished. Join us in peace or stay alone in the dark. Tenril growled. You are weak like them. Velen shook his head. No, I am wise enough to listen. He walked away, leaving Tenril to his empty halls and fading power. Back in space, the Nova Striker carried Ethan Grant and Admiral Bennett to a meeting with the Valari. The Valari leader offered a treaty. We want trade, not war. We see your strength and your hope. Ethan smiled. We want the same. We want to learn, not destroy. They shook hands, and a new chapter began. Ambassador Dana Brooks visited planets once filled with fear. Now, she was greeted with cheers and open arms. She visited schools, hospitals, and markets. Everywhere she went, she talked about respect and friendship. Her kindness won hearts faster than any weapon. Meanwhile, on a small farm on Vega 9, Daniel Rivers helped rebuild a town burned in the first attack. He taught the children how to plant seeds. One alien child asked, "Why did you save us?" Daniel smiled. Because that's what humans do. We fight to protect, but we also heal after the fight. The child hugged him, and the people of Vega 9 began to hope again. But danger still waited in the shadows. A group of old warlords plotted revenge, refusing to accept the new peace. They gathered stolen ships and planned a final attack on Earth itself. They believed humans would relax, that the new friendships made Earth weak. They were wrong. The humans had learned from every battle, and now the whole fleet stood ready. Jason Grant watched the sensors, his eyes sharp and clear. We are never unprepared again, he said. His voice echoed through the fleet. This is our home, and we will protect it, always. The warning that so many had ignored was now written everywhere, on statues, on banners, even in the songs sung by children. It was too late to stop the humans, but it was not too late to build something better. All across the galaxy, hope began to grow, and that was more powerful than any warship. Many years had passed since the last Great War. The galaxy was a different place now, where there were once borders and fear. There were now bridges and hope. Earth and its colonies had grown strong, but not by conquering others. They grew by building, sharing, and remembering what it meant to lose, and then to heal. On the planet of Iles, in orbit above the peaceful green world, a monument floated in space. It was made of bright silver and dark stone, shaped like a giant human hand holding a broken sword. Around the base were words written in many languages. They were warned, and now we all remember. Ships from every world passed the monument every day. Pilots stopped to look, sometimes in silence, sometimes with tears. Even the oldest alien said it was the most powerful symbol in the stars. On Earth, life was peaceful. Children played in the parks of New Chicago, their laughter mixing with the music of old alien flutes. In the schools, students learned about the wars, the mistakes, and the lessons. They learned about the day Vega 9 fell, and the day it was rebuilt. They learned that courage is not just about fighting, but also about forgiveness. Teachers told stories of Admiral Nora Bennett, Commander Ethan Grant, Jason Grant, Daniel Rivers, Dana Brooks, and even those who once were enemies. Every story ended the same way. With hope, Admiral Nora Bennett lived quietly now, growing flowers on Mars with her grandchildren. Sometimes, she told them how it felt to see the stars from a warship's bridge. She never spoke of anger, only of duty and dreams. Her oldest granddaughter asked, "Were you scared?" Nora smiled. "Everyone is scared sometimes, but we keep going, together." Jason Grant and his crew still patrolled the skies in the Iron Warden, but now their main job was to help others. They delivered food to hungry worlds and repaired broken stations. They trained new officers, not just humans, but Valari, Zarn, and Targan too. Jason believed the best way to keep peace was to share everything they had learned. His favorite saying became famous: "We protect and we teach." Ethan Grant had retired to Terra Nova, a green planet at the edge of human space. He liked to walk by the river and watch the sunrise. Aliens came from far away just to talk to him. They wanted to know how humans had survived. Ethan always answered the same way: "We listened to each other, even when it was hard, and we never gave up." Daniel Rivers and his special team helped rebuild worlds that had suffered. They dug wells, built schools, and planted trees everywhere. They left a garden behind. Children ran to meet them, calling them heroes. Daniel always said, "Be better than us. That's how you change the galaxy." Dana Brooks became a legend, known as the Peacemaker. She spoke in halls of power and in quiet villages. She told everyone the story of the warning, how it was ignored and what it cost. She reminded leaders that peace is not something given, but something built every day. The galaxy listened to her because she spoke with both strength and kindness. Even her old enemies came to respect her. Tenril, the once proud Zarn leader, lived alone in a quiet corner of his world. He watched the news from Earth and wondered how things had changed so much. He had laughed at humans, called them weak, and now he saw that strength was not about force. One day, he sent a message to Velen. "I was wrong," he wrote. Velen replied, "It's never too late to listen." For the first time in years, Tenril felt hope. On Mars, a new school opened. Its name was Unity, and its first class was filled with children from every world. They spoke many languages, but they learned together. They played together, built together, and dreamed together. One day, their teacher asked, "What is the most important lesson?" A small Valari boy answered, "Don't wait until it's too late to listen." The whole class nodded. Their answer became the school's motto, carved above the door. The Iron Warden still circled Earth, its hull shining in the sunlight. People looked up at it and felt safe. Not because it was the biggest or the strongest ship, but because of what it meant. It was a promise that humans would never forget what happened when the warning was ignored. A promise that they would always protect, always help, always listen. In the years that followed, the phrase, "too late to stop the humans," changed its meaning. It was no longer a threat, but a story of hope. A story about people who refused to give up, who learned from pain, and who built something better out of the ashes. Every world, every species remembered it. And when they looked at the stars, they knew the warning had been clear. Now, so was the future.